Okay, real talk. Picture this. It's a Tuesday night. You're lying in bed, phone in hand, scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you see some guy your age, maybe 24, maybe 26, posting pictures from Dubai. New car. Nice apartment. And you're sitting there in the same bedroom you've had since high school thinking, what is he doing that I'm not? And here's the thing, that question either makes you angry or it makes you curious. And if it makes you curious, you're already ahead of most people. Because most people your age, and I'm not saying this to be harsh, I'm saying this because someone needs to say it, most people in their 20s are doing one of two things. They're either ignoring money completely, just living paycheck to paycheck and telling themselves, I'll figure it out later. Or they're doing something, but they're doing the wrong something. Putting $20 a week in a savings account and thinking they're set. And neither of those paths leads to $1 million. Not even close. So today, I want to actually walk you through how someone, starting from literal zero, no inheritance, no rich parents, no lucky crypto play, can build real, lasting wealth and actually hit $1 million in their 20s or early 30s. And I'm going to show you exactly why most people never get there and what separates the ones who do. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. The average 25-year-old in America has a net worth of roughly negative $5,000. Not zero. Negative. That's according to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances. They owe more than they own. Student loans, car payments, credit card debt, it all stacks up. And they're starting the most important wealth-building decade of their lives already in a hole. And look, I'm not here to shame anyone for that. The system is genuinely set up in a way that makes this harder than it should be. But I am here to tell you that knowing that statistic should light a fire under you. Because the people who hit $1 million in their 20s, they understood something early that most people figure out way too late. Compound interest is not a math concept. It's a superpower. And time is the only thing that activates it. Let me give you a number that actually stopped me in my tracks the first time I heard it. If you invest $500 a month starting at age 22 and you earn an average annual return of 10%, which, by the way, is roughly the historical average of the S&P 500, you will have just over $1.1 million by the time you're 52. 30 years. $500 a month. Now here's the gut punch. If you wait until you're 32 to start, just 10 years later, that same $500 a month at the same return gets you to about $380,000 by 52. Not $1 million. $380,000. You lost over $700,000 not because you made a bad investment. Not because the market crashed. Just because you waited. That's what people don't understand about time. It's not just a factor in the equation. It is the equation. So the first thing you have to do, and I mean before anything else, is stop treating your 20s like a warm-up round. This is not the pregame. This is the game. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, okay, great, but I don't have $500 a month. I can barely pay rent. And I hear you. I genuinely do. But here's what I want to challenge you on. Because this is where most financial advice falls apart. It skips the step that actually matters most. Before you can invest anything, you have to fix your income to expense gap. That's it. That's the whole game in one sentence. The difference between what comes in and what goes out. And most people in their 20s are focused on cutting expenses, which fine, cutting unnecessary spending matters. But it has a floor. You can only cut so much before you're eating rice and crying in the dark. What doesn't have a ceiling is your income. Think about it like a leaking boat. If you're sinking, yes, you should plug the holes. But if you also just row harder, you can stay afloat even with some leaks. The goal is to do both. Plug the holes and row harder. Reduce dumb spending and increase what you earn. Now here's how the people who actually hit $1 million in their 20s do it. And this is where it gets real. Almost no one gets there on a single salary. Let me say that again. Almost. No one gets there on a single salary. According to the IRS, roughly 93% of millionaires have multiple income streams. Multiple. That means the job, the 9 to 5, that's just the foundation, not the ceiling. In your 20s, you have something that even people with more money than you don't have. You have time and energy. And those two things are worth an enormous amount if you use them right. This is the era of the side hustle, the freelance economy, the creator economy, whatever you want to call it. The barriers to earning extra income have literally never been lower in human history. You can learn a skill online for free, offer that skill on a platform like Upwork or Fiverr, and start making extra money within weeks. Copywriting, video editing, web design, social media management, bookkeeping, these are all skills that take months to learn, not years, and people will pay real money for them. I know someone, no trust fund, no degree in finance, who went from making $42,000 a year at a desk job to clearing $120,000 in total income by 27. And he did it by learning video editing on YouTube, doing it on the side for 6 months, building a client base, and eventually charging premium rates. He took every dollar of that extra income and funneled it straight into investments. That's not a fairy tale. That's a system. And that brings me to the next piece. Because making more money is only half of it. The other half is where you put it. Here's where most young people, and again, I say this with love, make a massive mistake. They keep too much in cash. Or they put money in a regular savings account earning 0.5% interest and pat themselves on the back. Meanwhile, inflation is running at 3, 4, sometimes 5% per year. Which means the money in that savings account is actually losing value in real terms. Every single year. The stock market is not gambling. I need you to hear that clearly. Putting money in a diversified index fund is not the same as putting it on red at a casino. The S&P 500 has never, in its entire history, had a negative 20-year return. Not once. Through wars, recessions, crashes, pandemics. Over any 20-year window you pick, the market has gone up. So when people say, I don't invest because it's too risky, what they're actually saying is, I don't understand it. And that's okay. But it's also fixable. Here's the simplest possible investment framework for someone starting at 0 in their 20s. And I'm going to make it embarrassingly simple. First, if your employer offers a 401k with any kind of match, contribute at least enough to get the full match. That is free money. Leaving that on the table is like turning down a raise. Do it first, no excuses. Second, open a Roth IRA. In 2024, you can contribute up to $7,000 per year. Put that money into a simple, low-cost index fund, something like a total market fund or an S&P 500 fund. And then forget about it. Don't check it every day. Don't panic when it dips. Just let it do its thing. Third, and this is where people really start to pull away from the pack, once you've got those two covered, open a regular brokerage account and start investing extra money there too. No contribution limits. No income restrictions. Just more money working for you in the background. That's it. That's the whole investment playbook for your 20s. It's not complicated. What it requires is consistency. Month after month, year after year, regardless of what the news is saying, regardless of whether the market is up or down. Because here's the metaphor I want you to hold on to. The stock market is like a roller coaster. And there are two types of people on that ride. There are the people who are white-knuckling every drop, screaming, thinking about getting off. And there are the people who know how the ride ends, that it always comes back up, so they just enjoy it. They might even buy more tickets when the ride dips, because they know it'll be worth more on the way back up. That second group? Those are the investors who build wealth. Now let's talk about debt, because I can't do this video without it. If you have high-interest debt, credit cards, personal loans, anything north of 8 or 9% interest, that is your first investment. Paying that off aggressively beats almost any market return you could get because you're guaranteed to earn whatever that interest rate is by eliminating it. A 22% APR credit card is a 22% guaranteed return when you pay it off. The market can't promise that. But here's the nuance. Not all debt is the enemy. Student loans at 4 or 5% interest. You might actually be better off making minimum payments and investing the rest because your investment returns could outpace that interest rate over time. Car loans? If the rate is low, same logic might apply. The math matters. Don't treat all debt like it's the same monster. And look, I want to take a second here because I know some of you are feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you're 24 and you've got $18,000 in credit card debt and student loans on top of that, and you're thinking, this guy is talking about $1 million and I can't even see the surface from where I am. I hear you. And I want you to know, the path doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to start. That's it. Starting from $0 is infinitely better than never starting. Every single dollar you invest in your 20s does exponentially more work than a dollar you invest in your 40s. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to make a decision right now that changes everything. Because here's something that genuinely fascinates me about wealth psychology. When researchers study people who built significant wealth starting from nothing, the thing that separates them almost universally isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It isn't even discipline in the way we normally think of it. It's identity. The people who hit $1 million started thinking of themselves as someone who builds wealth before they had any. They made decisions, small decisions, daily decisions, as the person they were becoming, not the person they currently were. When you think, I'm broke, I can't invest, you make decisions that confirm that story. When you think, I'm someone who builds wealth, even if I'm just starting, you make different decisions. You pack lunch instead of eating out. You pick up an extra freelance client instead of watching another Netflix series. You automate a $100 investment instead of letting it sit in your checking account. Identity precedes behavior. Every time. So here's what I want to leave you with. The $1 million is real. It's not a fantasy. The math works. The tools exist. The 20s are the most powerful decade of your financial life, not because of some motivational poster reason, but because of arithmetic. Because of compound interest. Because time is the one thing you cannot buy back. But here's what none of this matters without. Action. Today. Not Monday. Not when you get your next paycheck. Not when things feel more stable. Today. Open that Roth IRA this week. 1 hour. Done. Start learning one income-producing skill this month. 1 hour a day. 30 days. Start somewhere. Because the people on that boat in Dubai, a lot of them didn't start with more than you. They just started earlier. They started awkwardly, imperfectly, with too little money and too much uncertainty, and they started anyway. You have everything you need right now to begin. The question isn't whether the path exists. The path absolutely exists. The question is whether you're going to take the first step on it today. So take it.